Welcome back to VA Claims Confidential. I'm Mr. X. I'm the guy behind the guy, giving you all the information you want to know, all the information you need to know about the VA claims process. Today we're going to be talking about how to maximize your VA back evaluation. Now when I say back, I'm talking about your lumbar back, your low back, your thoracic back, any other back condition, the lower portion, not your neck. There's a difference. Low back, okay? So, as with any other video, we're going to start with the process, okay? Not going to go into too much detail here, but you got to know what type of claim you're filing. Are you filing it on a direct basis, i.e., is there something in service where you were seen for low back pain, where you were treated for your back? Are you making this claim on a secondary basis? Are you claiming your low back due to your hips or due to your knees? Is this a claim for increase or an aggravation claim where the back injury existed prior to service and worsened due to your military service? You got to know about which one you're filing for. That way, you can submit the evidence that corresponds with what you're filing. Okay? So, if on a direct basis, if you can point the VA to where in your service records you were seen in service for your low back condition. Submit a claims claiming low back injury was seen in service January 2nd, 2012. Okay, submit lay evidence or lay statements if there's nothing in your back or nothing in your service treatment records. Submit lay statements or buddy statements for people that you were in service with that know or knew that you had back issues, that you were seen for back symptoms. As always, you can submit nexus letters or private opinions. As you know, this isn't my favorite option, mainly because it costs you money out of pocket and it's not guaranteed. So while it is an option, it's not my first go-to. Okay? A couple things about the CMP exam when you get sent to it. Always a couple things I always recommend first. This exam is there to determine what you have a diagnosis and to determine what your current level of symptoms are. With that, they may be asked to provide an opinion. During this exam, what I always recommend be detailed. When they talk about the range of motion, okay, this is not the time to act tough. This is not the time to, be the strong person and ignore the pain. Talk about all the pain and symptoms that you're experiencing on a daily basis. Talk about your symptoms when you wake up in the morning or during the day when you've had a rough day or a long day. How you feel at the end of the day. Talk about everything. Okay, we're going to talk about the DA rating schedule now. This is 38 CFR Part 4. Talks about all the back conditions. So first you got to understand the rating process and the rating schedule. These are just a couple examples of the diagnostic codes that VA uses, and then we'll consider the rating criteria for these depending on what the diagnosis is. Okay, first, the majority of back evaluations either fall under the 5237 lumbosacral or cervical strain. Obviously, this is not the cervical portion, but the 5237 can apply to both. 5242 is the degenerative arthritis, degenerative disc disease, or other non-IBDS. Okay, and then there's the IBDS under 5242. We're going to talk about them. 5238, 5239, those are both that are common enough that they have their own diagnostic code in the VA schedule, but they're not used very often. Okay? All right, let's talk about 5237. We're going to highlight a couple things in it. So, talks about the lumbosacral strain. The majority of, if you get awarded a larger evaluation than 10%, if you get awarded a 20% or a 40% evaluation, it's going to be due to the range of motion limitations, not due to pain. Pain only warrants 10%. So there on the right, we have the breakdown of the measurements of the spine and what they're looking at. So the image there on the top, left-hand corner, that flexion extension, 0 to 90 is what they're looking for. Essentially from the stand position, can you flex 90 degrees at the waist? The examiner is going to annotate the range of motion limitations, okay? Degenerative arthritis here. We're going to talk about this too. Okay, degenerative arthritis or degenerative disc disease, DDD. Okay, this has the same rating criteria as the previous 5237. So it all's going to come down to the range of motion measurements, the flexion extension ratings, measurements of the lateral flexion and the rotation. Essentially, same rating criteria, just different names, different diagnoses. Okay, here's the general rating formula to give you an idea of what the breakdown is. I'm going to go over the top 20% evaluation 1 to 10 one. You'll understand, okay? So, for example, to get the 20% evaluation, the forward flexion motion. So if you're standing straight up and down and then bend at the waist to 90 degrees, it's between 30, as you can see, 90 degrees is all the way bent over, all between 30 and 60 degrees. If it's let's say it's 35 or 45 or 50 degrees, that's going to warrant the 20% evaluation for that alone. In addition to that, you look at the bottom 7ths of that. So if you have those measurements, or if you have muscle spasms or guarding severe enough to result in an abnormal gait or abnormal spinal contour, such as scoliosis, reverse lordosis, or abdominal-kyphosis. Okay, so it's either range of motion measurements or one of those three things. That's going to warrant the 20% evaluation. Okay, this is the rest of the general rating formula. To get higher than a 40% evaluation, as you can see there, 40% evaluation, that means your forward flexion is 30 degrees or less. Or favorable ankylosis of the entire thoracolumbar spine. Okay, ankylosis is no joke. Trying to get higher than a 40% evaluation, I've seen it many times, where you'll be service connected at 40%, you'll want that increase, and unless there's that unfavorable ankylosis, there's no chance, no shot at getting there. Okay, so once you get to 40%, I would almost consider yourself capped unless you absolutely guaranteed know that you have unfavorable ankylosis. Okay, talking about intervertebral disc syndrome, or IDDS. This goes off the different criteria, goes off the incapacitating episodes. Okay, what does that mean, Mr. X? Well, here it is. So, if you have IDDS, and under 5243, the VA rating schedule shows you, here's the breakdown of where it's at. So, regardless of range of motion or pain, if you have IDDS, and you had incapacitating episodes that have a total duration of at least 1 week but less than 2 weeks during the past 12 months, and that warrants a 10% evaluation. As you can see, it goes up from there, with the most egregious, the highest 160%, has incapacitating episodes having a total duration of 6 weeks during the past 12 months. Okay, this has to be indocted. The evidence has to be written, has to be absolute. Doctor has to say, look, you have to be on strict bed rest for 6 to 8 weeks due to XYZ symptoms. Okay, so to get a high evaluation in this area, it can be difficult, mainly because if you have if you are systemic for IDDS based on incapacitating episodes, so if you're going to warrant a 60% evaluation due to the total bed rest for the 6 weeks, and you have nerve involvement, meaning you have radiculopathy of the sciatic nerve or the femoral nerve, you can't be service connected for both of them at the same time. It's a violation of the VA rating schedule. It's either or. So whatever produces the highest evaluation. So even if you want the 60% evaluation, if based on range of motion measurement, you can get the 40% under the general rating formula and not this one based on incapacitating episodes, then you can take that 40% plus if you have sciatic and femoral nerve damage. If those ratings equal or more than 60%, then it's more advantageous to go that route based on the symptoms. Here we're talking about the neurological involvement that I mentioned, radiculopathy. So while with many nerves in the lower extremity, these are the two that are most often service-connected active, the sciatic nerve, sciatica, radiculopathy, peripheral neuropathy. Sometimes they all have the same name. As far as your back goes, if you have that nerve pain, the shear shooting nerve damage going down your legs. That's going to be referred to as radiculopathy. Sometimes I've seen it many times where it's claimed as sciatica. And the sciatic nerve, those are the ones that generally run down to your ankles into your toes. The femoral nerve has to do with your thigh, because that's where your femur is, femur bone femoral nerve. So if you have both, you can be service-connected for both if the examiner shows involvement of each condition. Other possible related conditions. So this is no one who the VA rating schedule says evaluate any associated objective neurologic abnormalities, including but not limited to bowel or bladder impairments, separately or under an appropriate diagnostic code. Other conditions that could be related to your back. You could have hip conditions, knee conditions, feet conditions, erectile dysfunction. You could have bladder conditions due to your low back condition. You can have mental health. If you have major depressive disorder or depression due to your service-connected disabilities, then that could warrant another separate evaluation. So in those situations to where when claiming it, these are lesser known related items. So unless you claim them as secondary to your back, they may not be addressed, because within the exam information, the DBQ itself, it does not specify additional other possible related conditions. So if you have the hips, knee, feet, erectile dysfunction, or the mental health conditions due to your back, you don't want to claim those just to make sure that they are covered. While that note says, hey, evaluate all these conditions separately under the appropriate diagnostic code, examiners will always go there and look at it. So this is one of those tips that you want to click if you have symptoms or conditions that are related to your back. So my advice, I would just claim it. Don't depend on them to see it, to evaluate it. The nerve part of it, yes, they'll cover that. Outside of the nerve, no, I would just claim, right hip condition secondary to your back, right knee condition secondary to your back, erectile dysfunction secondary to your low back condition. As I previously mentioned, pain doesn't matter. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you're at 2 or an 8, pain only warrants a 10% evaluation. Okay? Everything else comes down to the range of motion measurements of your spine, incapacitating episodes. That's where the highest evaluation is going to be in those two areas. So if you file an increase due to increased pain in your lower back, it's still going to warrant the 10% evaluation. Now, if some of that pain in your low back then translates to your hips, your knees, your feet, then that may warrant an increased evaluation due to, how you claim it. So, right knee condition secondary to your back and whatnot. Hey, I won't look at that. We're wrapping up here, rating considerations, conclusions here. Keep in mind how you claim the condition. Do you claim your low back condition on a primary basis, something related to service? If you're claiming it due on a secondary basis, your low back condition, secondary to your knees or your feet, then that might be a little more difficult, but you're going to want to submit true records to show the involvement or the relationship between those two. If you have other conditions, as I mentioned, knees, feet, hips, erectile dysfunction, secondary back, claim it that way. Okay? Just claim and let the DA sort it all out. And lastly, pain only lasts 10%. When you go to the exams, be honest, be upfront. Don't try to hide anything. The examiners can pick that stuff out, and they'll annotate it, saying, hey, this range of motion measurements isn't conducive for or suitable for rating purposes. Okay, just be upfront about everything. Be honest. In the end, please like, subscribe, leave a comment about what you thought or what you'd like us to address in the future. I'm Mr. X, and we'll see you next time.